Hi, this is Dallin Stringham. This is the Speed of Trust Stakeholder Trust video, and just jumping right into anything. When it comes to the two company, I actually want to talk about. So there's this one company, this one jewelry store that I worked for that I had two different managers. So it's the same company, but I want to talk about those two different experiences because they were very different. So one of my managers that I had earlier on was very high trust dividend relationship. They we're like, okay, Dallin, I know you have experience, but I also know you're improving. So I'm going to trust you that you can do what you need to if you're willing to let me help when you feel like I see areas you can improve on. And I was like, whoa, saying that at the start is just amazing. And so that was really neat to have, and that really changed the dynamic of our relationship from like the very start, which was really cool. And like there were a few times that I totally messed up or could have done things better, and they're like, hey, like this is what I recommend. And I was like, oh my gosh, it made me so much more trusting and open to their counsel and thoughts, which was really cool. And they always were like, hey, I have your back. They were very loyal, and just seeing that was really unique. And then later on, I got a manager that came around that it was a very low trust relationship. They actually said something along the lines of, oh, I'm a better salesperson than you, or they didn't really trust me, even though they didn't say it verbally. Like there were a lot of things that they were like, oh, anytime you can't do something, like I want you to call me in because I can close it or get it taken care of. And so, and even though they did have more experience than me time-wise, when that was presented, it really made me feel like, this isn't like, it doesn't seem like you really trust me a ton or want that support, and that micromanagement was really hard to work with. And so those were two very different experiences at the same store, which is just amazing because like that can really make or break a job. Which it's an interesting experience kind of going through that and seeing those both sides of the coin. But this book really put it into the perfect perspective. And then from there, getting into the family things like trust dividends, I was honestly blessed with an amazing family. And of course, my parents were imperfect and there's things that they were working on, but I was very blessed to have them support me in my hobbies, and they gave me a lot of trust. And I've always been a little bit of an old soul, so kind of like a little bit ahead of my age and maturity wise, but they trust me with watching my siblings, or they taught my dad when I was 8 years old, taught me how to mow the lawn, which is a really cool experience. And at first he was very much like, okay, like this is a really cool opportunity. It's also still dangerous, like cutting grass, you got to be careful. And so for a while he helped me get on my feet and learn the ropes of lawn mowing. And then at a certain point, like when I was like 9 years old, he's like, okay, like this summer I'm going to let you have at it. And so like I mowed the lawn, but it wasn't perfect and there were some grass spots left over. And so he's like, okay, like here are the areas that you need to go over and here's how you can fix it. So slowly and over time, I got to the point where like I got a raise in my lawn mowing pay, and like I would also weed whack. And so it was really fun having those opportunities, and they really involved me in a lot of projects that they were working on around the house. And so having that trust was amazing. And that's really set me up for who I am today. And my dad was also, had a lot of humility. So whenever my parents were imperfect or made a mistake, and I had to apologize to them too many times, but it was really neat seeing them also being able to be like, hey, I was wrong, I made a mistake, I'm really sorry, how can we make this right? And so having that was really special. And with my roommates, it's been a little harder this semester. I've had two guys that I love and are very clean, and I've lived with for a while here in Rexburg, and I have several new ones who are a lot harder to work with, honestly, because they just kind of leave stuff everywhere and they don't clean up as much and they're just gone all the time. So it's hard to have that time to build that relationship, and I don't want it to be like, oh, hey, when I do see you, I'm just telling you to do this. But I took some of the principles from sales management last semester, actually, and I was like, hey, like I took one aside the other day. I was like, hey, I love you so much. Would you be willing to have like a little bit of a difficult conversation? He's like, yeah, sure. I was like, I love you so much, but I want you to know you leave your dishes out, like you just don't clean them and they're left there for weeks at a time. How can we change this? Because I'm also imperfect at this, so how can we both improve? And in framing it that way was a very different conversation, and since then he's actually gotten a lot better at doing that. And so I think when you're vulnerable with people and you extend that trust, and you also are humble at the same time, be like, I'm imperfect at this too, and no one is, and that's not what I'm asking for, but would you be willing to change this to get it to a certain level is huge. And then I just really want to continue to build those relationships with them. But it's been an amazing book, and I really like the third wave of trust, which has been really fun. But thanks so much.